Sometimes the world looks perfect, nothing to rearrange. Sometimes you just get a feeling you need some kind of change. Standing tall on the wings of my dream, rise and fall on the wings of my dream. Rain and thunder in the haze, bound for better days. It's my life and my dream, nothing's gonna stop me now.
All right, welcome to TGIF. Tanner Grover invites friends. It is day number 15,504 of being me. It is no short order. I don't envy anyone who has that position. Unfortunately, it's only me. So it goes. But today, I'm having a combo with someone I like. Not just someone I like. It's actually my best friend, formerly known as the Italian Stallion, Tommy Gunn, the Big Fat Wappa, the Magical Mushroom Man, the Martial Explorer, Professor Michael Anthony Tomacelli. What's up, Wap?
I feel like I should bow after that introduction. Not much. How you been?
I've been all right. I've been all right. Just kind of transitioning into summertime in Booth Bay.
Transitioning, huh?
Yeah. Well, you gotta be careful how you use that around you. Yeah. But man, dude, summertime in Booth Bay, you can't beat it. Well, let me ask you this. I was talking to Joe the other day, a mutual friend, and he said you might come up for Moxie Fest. Is there any truth into that?
Oh, fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. We're trying to figure out a way to make it happen because, well, he lives not far from my parents. My parents are over in Woodstock and he's in Lisbon, and you know what? Time for new traditions to begin. So I think Moxie Festival could be a good one for us.
I've never been. I know it's a time. I think what they did last year. I kind of keep tabs on it. They had like an Elvis impersonator, and like they had 2 nights of it. And night 1 was like classic Elvis, and night 2 was like fat Las Vegas Elvis.
Sick. Who doesn't love Elvis?
Oh, I don't know. Everyone loves Elvis, right?
100%. I'm pretty sure he never died.
Yeah, no, he's out there. So all right, so for every episode, okay, I kind of try to start off the same way. For 2 things I want to cover. First of all, what do you think is our estimated date of friendship?
Ooh. God. Was it 3rd grade? Mrs. Haney's class? Or earlier? Was it Vermillion?
It was Vermillion. It was first.
1st grade. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. I remember, I actually remember talking to my mom, and you were like a new kid, I believe. I think you started like a little bit late in the school year because you moved from Massachusetts.
New Hampshire. Yep.
Okay. And I remember telling my mom, like, yeah, there's this kid, Mike Tomacelli. And she was like, Tanner, there's no fucking kid named Mike Tomacelli in Booth Bay Harbor. And I'm like, no, there really is.
That's funny. Small town. That's how it goes. And then she found out the legend was real.
Oh, and the legend continues to grow.
Chaos. My God. I'm sorry, Trish, if you're watching this. I'm really sorry.
Oh, God. So let me ask you this, like, do you remember, like, your first impression of me, like, from way, way back?
The only one I can really remember, and this is how I knew we were destined to be legendary friends. You rolled in with your Legion of Doom vest on. Yeah. Oh. And maybe some Ultimate Warrior tassels on your arms. I'm pretty sure, but it was definitely the vest.
Yeah, I did have I did have an LOD vest. That checks out.
So that pretty much sealed the deal for me. I don't even think we needed to exchange words.
No, probably not. All right. So my first impression of you, was all right. So you were the new kid, and this involves a mutual friend of ours, Matt Brown. Okay. Everybody loves Matt Brown. I hope to chat with him sometime. But Matt Brown was an abnormally large child. He was just a behemoth of a first grader. And it kind of goes back to that old adage of like, you want to make an impression on day one. The way to do it is to pick a fight with the biggest kid on the playground. And here comes tiny little Mike Tomacelli. And I don't know what the exchange was, and you can probably articulate this better than me. But the next thing I know, that brother's going to the teacher, and she's like, "Mrs. Vermillion, the new kid stuck a pencil in my hand." And
Yeah, I don't know what was going through my head at that time, to be honest with you. But I knew by Matt's reaction that he too would also become a legendary friend. He just looked at me with like total concern as to why I did that, not an ounce of pain. Went and handled it, and we went about the day. It was very strange, to be honest, but again, perfect measure of a lifelong friend.
yeah, when in doubt, just jab a pencil into someone's hand and see how they react.
I mean, I had issues as a kid, I'm sure.
Yeah, I don't really remember you being like a troublemaker. Like you were never in the principal's office or nothing like that. But you had a mischievousness about you.
Violence in me. There was a violence in me.
There was definitely a proximity for violence, which is carried over into your profession. I mean, like,
It sure
dude, you
has.
run
It's
and
just a part of my path.
yeah, and so let's talk about that. Let's talk a little bit about what's the latest with your gym. I mean, I know you've been in California now for I think this is year 20 you're going on with Tomaselli. I don't know if Tomaselli Academy is 20 years old, but I know you've been in California for 20 years.
No, I opened in 07, so we're coming up on year 20. And
Okay, so we are. All right, it's close. So what's going on?
So I recently just moved my academy to Orange, California. The building I was in renting, the last one in Santa Ana, was sold. So reopened, and now what I'm looking to do is I'm going to partner up with my buddy Hank Williams, who's also my chiropractor, and we're looking to open a massive wellness and training facility, kind of like the last one, offering like everything health and wellness, then everything fighting, jiu-jitsu, MMA, wrestling, boxing, you name it. So this will be the one big final push, because right now, as much as I love the city I'm in, I kind of started in Costa Mesa, and that's the city we're looking to get back into.
Okay. So, I mean, are you still, you run a gym, but are you still, actually, managing individual fighters, going to tournaments?
Yeah, I just had one of my fighters, he fought in LA 2 or 3 weeks ago. So I still have fighters out of there. Since I moved from Costa Mesa, there was a shift in my clientele. So I haven't been managing as many fighters, been doing more tournaments and stuff like that. But yeah, it's still all on the card and all on the agenda.
Okay. Do you like it? What's your favorite part of doing what you do? Do you like the actual competition part, or are you more the day-to-day training part?
It kind of goes back to basketball. I always enjoyed practice more than I enjoyed the games. I just enjoyed the training aspect more than anything. But you go through phases. You go through competitions, and you want to just kind of test all your skills. Then after you've done that for years, you end up wanting to teach. But for me, it's just the day to day. It's making an impact on people, no matter how few or how many. The best measure is when someone comes back to you and they tell you that in some way or form, the training you gave them, saved their life or helped them. So it's not just about fighting, which is kind of like modern UFC thought process. There's a lot more to training than that. That's just the fun part that everybody sees.
So, like, I've, spent a long part of my life coaching. I was a varsity coach for like 5 years. And then a couple years ago, I started doing some travel team stuff again here in Booth Bay. I didn't do anything this past year. But one thing I noticed, because I like to keep my finger on the pulse of that stuff, so I'm not like falling behind and feeling outdated. And, basketball as a sport has really evolved to like an unbelievable level. And I don't know if you follow like the NBA finals at all, but there's this guy, Victor Wembanyama from San Antonio. I don't know if you know him, but he's like 7'4" or 5", and he's shooting threes and playing like a guard. Now, I don't subscribe to like that necessarily being the best strategy or whatever, but my point is that training has come like so far in that sport where like back in our day, if Dikembe Mutombo was out there shooting threes, you'd be like, something's wrong, but now they can do it. And so my question, I guess, is have you noticed an evolution in like MMA or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, or how has that developed over the last 20 years?
There definitely has been an evolution, especially with the advent of technology and people's ability to communicate and share information. So, for instance, when I started back in Booth Bay at Maine Jiu-Jitsu, circa 2004, 2005, something like that, I think YouTube had just come out and there were maybe 3 instructionals on there. A guy named Mario Sperry, another guy, Boss Rutan, and there's maybe 1 or 2 others. Now you type in MMA or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or boxing and you will get 10 million videos from all the experts in the world. So granted, it's never going to replace an actual coach. If you can use good discernment and pull from all that wisdom that's out there, it's undoubtedly going to create an evolution in fighting. Now, that being said, I'm I love MMA and sport fighting. And that's how we all start in our training. But as you get older in life, it kind of goes back to street fighting. What works in the street, what doesn't. And that's where you start to notice the big differences in what happens when fighting gets sportified. You're protected by the rules, you're protected by the ref, and you're protected by the mats on the ground. You don't get any of those in the street, So this measure of, you can't really compare a lot of martial arts to modern day fighting. They split and then evolved on their own, so to speak. Because
it's different, man.
Say that again.
It's different, and like I think that what you're talking about is like applicable across the boards to all sports. And I'm not saying like one's better than the other or whatever, but I remember like watching those early days of UFC with you, where we would go, or like for Pride, those events. I think I actually found an old Pride VHS from like 2003 or something. And it was just so different because it wasn't so monitored, and it was a little bit more, I don't know, organic, I guess, might be one way to kind of frame it. But I think that like even in like basketball, like games are officiated now. If you like differently, they're officiated differently. And if you look at like flopping is a big like talking point. Everybody flops. Everyone like, is doing it, but they're doing it because the rules allow you to gain an advantage by being an actor and not by being like a physical basketball player. Whereas you go back and you look at footage from like the 80s or the 90s, it's a totally different game, And I think that's true.
We live in a soy boy society. Everybody's so fucking soft now. No one likes to get physical. Again, everybody's protected by the rules, and then people eventually manipulate those rules. But yeah, a lack of physicality in almost all sports nowadays.
Let me ask you this. This event came to Maine. This is a little kind of left field. But I want to know if you've ever, like, A, heard of it. If you have heard of it, would you ever do it personally? This event came to Portland, and it was MMA, but it was, it was like knights in armor. Okay? So they're
Oh,
like, they're not. Have you seen that?
it's pretty ridiculous. That being said, if you get me some armor and swords and a shield, I'll absolutely do it.
I don't know, man. I mean, like, I know you used to compete back in the day, and you would send me these ridiculous videos where, like, you were in the unlimited weight class. Which, what was that? Was that like, what is unlimited?
So it was actually it was known as the unlimited class or the absolute or ultra heavy. It was basically everybody over 215 and up. And I think back then I weighed in around like 225, 230.
Right.
But my whole thing was, what's the point of this if it doesn't work against someone bigger? So I just jumped in the biggest weight class I could and stayed there for all my competitions. And I fought some monsters.
Oh, yeah. No, you fought dudes that were like, 6'8", 400 pounds. And they weren't, they weren't nobodies. Like, they had training. Like, they were fighters. But it was just like, you would send me these videos. I'm like, all right, here he comes once again. Like, the little Italian kid stabbing Matt Brown in the hand with a pencil. Same idea, but now you're just choking him out with the gi. And it was like...
Yeah, more or less. I actually channeled all of that violence into something useful instead of Matt Brown's hand.
So, I want to transition a little bit into your other endeavor, all right? And I want you to explain it because you explained it to me once upon a time. Gus's FunBar, all right? I want to know the origin story of Gus's Fun. I want to know why it's called Gus's Fun. There it is. There's the product, Belgian chocolate. We're microdosing. Tell me about it.
So about, this was probably 7 years ago at my gym in Costa Mesa. I had a bunch of students who, they like to go to festivals and stuff like that. And, I like to smoke my cannabis, but they always kept saying, you really got to try mushrooms. You always got to try mushrooms. You'd really like it. And I'm like, you know what? My rule of thumb was if I couldn't grow it, I wasn't going to try it. That's how I got into my cannabis habit. I started growing, and then it kind of took off from there. Same with mushrooms. So I had another student who had done a couple courses on, mycology, growing mushrooms, all sorts. And he gave me all of his study guides and all of his books. And he goes, here, learn how to do this, then talk to me. So I spent a few months, taught myself how to grow mushrooms, totally different process than anything from seeds. You're growing from spores and cultures. Started a little grow at my old gym, that I could monitor during the day in between classes. And basically, while I was doing all the growing, I was doing copious amounts of research on whatever kind of information I could find, whether it was people's trip diaries from way back in the day, accounts and testimonials from old hippies, peer-reviewed studies, anything from any university I could find, right? So I was doing my research, and I found out that, like everything in life, if you use this stuff in moderation, you're going to get extremely good results, right? Most people don't understand that, and they don't use it in moderation. They use it in copious amounts in college, and they don't know what to expect. So started growing, started doing the research, come to find out the first studies I found were for CTE and brain trauma, which is a common thing amongst, MMA fighters and Muay Thai fighters and boxers. Not so much jiu-jitsu guys, because there's not a lot of impact stuff or grapplers. But for the strikers and for my MMA fighters, after a hard night of training on Friday, they'd wake up with headaches on Saturday and they'd have a big down day. So we started using this microdosing psilocybin for pre-workout and post-workout recovery. Had amazing results. Had some other friends with some other issues. everything from a lot of friends actually started reaching out, and friends of friends. Everything from night terrors, anxiety, depression, insomniacs. The most recent is a lot of spinal cord injury patients have been reaching out, but it just kind of self-evolved through my chiropractor's network of holistic healers and stuff. And basically I couldn't stop making it and perfecting it because it was helping so many people. And I just kept evolving it until it was, I did a lot of research from Paul Stamets, who's considered one of the foremost, minds in terms of mushroom science, mycology, anything mycelium related. Read his research, kind of expounded upon his Stamets stack, and created the Samurai stack, which is a balanced microdose ratio of psilocybin to turkey tail, lion's mane, to reishi, to cordyceps, and to the niacin. So that magical stack is everything from your immune system to your brain to increasing electrical activity, and then the niacin lights up every one of your nerves out to the furthest derma of your skin. So it just kind of self-evolved and became something pretty fucking awesome. And like microdosing, it's changed my life, and it's changed my outlook on how a lot of people treat themselves and a lot of their issues.
Well, I think you're definitely on the cusp of big things to come with that, and you always have been. I want to talk about the name, though. All right, Gus Fun. Help me understand the name, Mike.
All right, here we go. You ready for this? Gus's FunBar is the fungus bar.
Yeah, that's what I was after right there.
Right there.
And see, I remember this only because a couple years ago, you were up from California. We had our class reunion, and we were sitting out on my porch. We were drinking. You were probably smoking, whatever. And we're hanging out. It was nighttime, and I asked you about it. And your answer was, well, just like right now, I was getting really high one night, and I just kept saying over and over again, fungus, fungus, fungus. Then you slowed it down. Fungus, fungus, Gus, fun. And that is the brilliance of Mike Tomacelli.
Yeah, and the power of microdosing unlocks that creativity.
So, like, have you ever had, like, any of, like, I know Joe was our mutual friend, and he talked to me about, microdosing with Gus FunBars, Gus's FunBars in Vegas, I believe it was. He had a great night, a great experience, super, like, not like trash, just like enhanced everything. And I think that's what some people might not understand about it. And you had me try it actually after you, and unwilling, but we were in Pier 1, and I was probably already too drunk to really reap the benefits of the positive effects from it. You just shoved a square of chocolate in my mouth is what you did. It was fine.
It happens.
Yeah, it was fine. It tasted good. I remember the taste. It's Belgian chocolate.
It's real chocolate for sure.
So any reviews from friends, I guess, is what I want to ask.
Oh yeah, I've honestly, I've had nothing but good reviews, and that's one of the things that has just kept me going with it. Not a single bad review.
But what about from friends?
Oh no, friends love it. I mean, my friends became my first clients, so to speak.
Yeah.
I took volunteers, whoever was willing to test this stuff with me at my academy. We would take a microdose and train for a couple hours, talk about it, what it felt like, and so on and so forth. Same with hikes and anything. I give that stuff away like there's no tomorrow, mostly to get reviews, because the only thing I care about is quality and quality of effect.
So I now want to transition. So I keep using that word. I shouldn't be doing that around you. I got to be careful. You're a quick one.
I'm gonna start to think things about you.
Yes, I know you will. So All right, you are, in my estimation, one of the most creative individuals in the world. I think you could do anything, Mike. I think your father is an engineer and wanted you to take over that business. Your mother is an artist, and I just always, I wasn't envious, but I was just in awe of like this fucking guy. In like art class growing up, in grade school, you would just do things, and the teachers, I feel like Mrs. Deachin or, Mrs. Lewis would take a look at what you did and just be like, what the fuck? And you almost kind of like, I think you don't even realize that, like, you have this hidden talent. I mean, maybe you do, but can you speak towards your creativity and kind of like, how you harness this in unique and interesting ways?
Well, I think a lot of that was my mom and my dad. One was an engineer and one was an artist, and for years for Christmas, all I would get would be tools from my dad and art stuff from my mom. I guess it was just the unbridled evolution of such gifts. Everything just kind of came together. And, that being said, I was always doing stuff with my hands growing up, whether it was a kid in the woods building tree forts, fishing, swimming, working summer jobs with all my dad's trades buddies and stuff like that. And I just had this thing where I wanted to acquire skills. I don't know why, but it was just, I felt if I had these skills, you just didn't have to rely on anybody if you could do it yourself. So I've just never stopped amassing skills.
So here's why I think we're friends, okay? Is I think that what you speak towards, like wanting to acquire skills, it's almost a little compulsive. Is that accurate? Do you feel that way sometimes?
I wouldn't say.
Or maybe not compulsive.
Compulsive has kind of a negative connotation. It's just like constantly unlocking, in a good way. It's like leveling up. That's all it is. Every time you unlock a skill or you master a skill, which doesn't happen overnight. It usually takes a few years to master any one skill.
Oh, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like the itch, basically. And I know it's
the itch is to master everything.
Yeah, right. All right. So
acquire those skills.
So my itch, right, is I always want a project. I always want a project, and I want, something that it might not be a skill, but I think what has kind of manifested for me in adulthood is I like planning events, and I want to say the origin of this is when you and I would plan house parties.
Jungle juice, baby.
Jungle juice, baby. That's what I want to talk about. So that's what this is, man. This is, a show that's an exploration of friendship. And our friendship, even though we've done all these amazing things together, and like basketball was a huge part of our youth, and I love that we still stay in touch and can talk about whatever the fuck we're doing. Like, we haven't missed a beat. We had this history of partying and debauchery, but it wasn't like complete chaos. Like, I don't think people realize how much effort and planning we put into these jungle juice parties. It was like kind of an ordeal, but we did it.
It was a lot of it was a blur back then due to the heavy drinking, but I feel like we were putting in like 2 or 3 weeks of still, like the minute we found out Trish was going to leave, the planning began.
Yes, it always revolved around cheerleading camp. It was like, okay, when is she going away for cheer camp? All right, that's the jungle juice party.
Oh, fuck. God, yeah. And then Merritt was down. Whatever we needed at Grover's.
Yeah, Merritt turned a blind eye, and because we had the hardware store, we had a supply shop basically at your disposal to do whatever. But yeah, I mean, so do you remember anything from these jungle juice parties? Like, do you have any recollection I mean, I have some like spotty
I gotta be
memories.
honest. All I remember is pushing that doorbell drink dispenser like 3 times into 3 cups, and then everything went dark.
Yeah, well, that was all right. So that invention. All right, talk about what that was. How what was the doorbell? Do you remember building it?
I remember we just had to have a fast way to get everybody their drinks. So we went down to
Right.
Grover's, and I think we got a 12-volt battery, a bilge pump, and a doorbell switch. And we put a lid on the top of a trash can filled with ice, loaded it with juices and alcohol, and that thing filled up a Solo cup. Remember it? Like, it was like a second and a half.
It was quick. Yeah, it was quick. Like what I was blown away was that it didn't make a mess. Right? I thought it was going to make a mess, and it just like it filled it perfectly. It was like
Yeah.
this is what I'm talking about, where it's like you're kind of like this, savant in that like whatever you do, it's like you're not just going to do something and have it be some rickety piece of shit. Like even when you're trying to party and get fucked up, you're like, let me make the perfect alcohol dispenser, out of like
It doesn't
whatever.
always turn out that way, but for that event, that was just absolutely spot on. Maybe we'll bring
It
it back to
was.
the Moxie Festival.
Ooh, I don't know about that, man.
I don't think I can do that anymore. Not
It's funny. Like, I remember too. Another part of those jungle juice parties was like the cleanup, right? And so, what like we had everything down to a science because my house was in like a residential neighborhood, and we had to like do the whole thing where it was like, all right, if you come in, you're not going to park on this tiny little street because we did have an issue with cops once upon a time, seniors in high school, when they made us move all the cars. But by the way, how cool was that? Because we should have gotten busted. We should have gotten arrested. Like, I gotta say, like, at Booth Bay circa, 2001, man, like, people were cool.
Yeah, it was also your house, and nobody's gonna fuck with you.
I don't know about that.
Oh man! I feel if that was anybody else's house, people would have gotten arrested.
I know it felt like one of those scenes from like a teen movie where like you have the house party and the fucking cops come and like people flee or
100%.
whatever. I remember. Do I remember about that? This was after homecoming, and I was sick. I actually didn't even drink at that party, which is probably why I remember it so well. But I remember, and I don't know if this is some like old wives' tale from the '90s, but everyone stayed in the house. Everyone's like frozen, and the cops come to the door, and I think it was Cyrus Wilson was there, and he starts handing out pennies, and he's like, "All right, everybody, suck on a penny." Because if they give you a breathalyzer, it will negate it. And everyone's sucking on pennies inside. I'm like, what is this?
Oh, the myths of parties.
I'm gonna have to, ask Claude later if
That's an effective tool.
yeah.
Oh man,
It was fun, man. I really enjoyed it. But and I was gonna say, so when the jungle juice party would end, I have this other vivid memory of you, and we would clean up the house, right? So we would clean up, and we almost had like a cleanup crew because cheerleading camp was ending on a Sunday. Trish was going to be back by noontime. We had to like get our shit together, and I remember we cleaned the whole house, and we're sitting on my front porch, and I look outside on the railing, and there's one red Solo cup still on the railing, and I'm like, Mike, like we're in fucking trouble. And
you remember we had a digital camera. We'd take pictures of how everything was arranged, and then we would put it away. All the plates, all your cards, everything. And we would put everything away that could get destroyed, and then we would look at the camera and put it all back.
We were meticulous. There was a lot of thought and effort that went into this. But man, I remember like that through that Solo cup. and like my world just shattered. And you pulled a move out of the Matrix, and it was like in one, like, it's like the rest of the world was like slow mo, but you were sped up, like Neo or something, and like somehow managed to, in one fell swoop, like get the red Solo cup and put it in the back of your truck or whatever. And she didn't notice, and like we got away scot free once again. Of course, she knows all of this stuff now, but
Yeah, we were masterminds at that, and we had a lot of people in there. That was crazy.
yeah, we're talking like too many people. It was
Overflowing into the streets.
there was some overflow, yes.
Oh God, the shit we did.
Oh man. So I was talking to Christy Giles yesterday.
I
We
saw
did
a
an
little bit of that.
episode. Yeah, it was pretty fun. And one thing I wanted to talk to her about is like that I thought was really cool was I know that her and Emily and Kara, they make a point to like get together like once a year, and I just thought like, it's so cool that you still do that and you all like make the weekend and go and have fun, and I said, it's not unlike when Mike comes up from California, and I feel like whenever that happens, like you, me, Joe, and Andy make it a point to at least get
Oh,
together for a
every time.
day every time, yeah, and it's like, so I'm, I think that there's something to that. I mean, what's your impression of our little, get-togethers or hangs?
I think most people don't even have one person that they can not be in touch with for 3 or 4 months at a time, and then pick up the phone and it's like yesterday. Me, you, Andy, and Joe have always been like that, We've always had our own goals and our own things that we're going to pursue, but like when the time comes and like we can all get together, we all just made it happen. And it was like picking up every time from back in high school. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's a special friendship all of us have, and it's very, very rare to have one person like that. Never mind 4 in a group.
Yeah, it's wild, and I know we all, and I think it's whatever. As you get older, I don't think this is unique. I think this happens to everybody. We almost become more isolated, but I do love the fact that we make this effort to get together and hang out and do something. I know a lot of it's pretty, predicated on your availability of when you're going to come up, and sometimes you don't even know. I feel until 48 hours in advance.
Yeah, that's how I roll sometimes.
Yeah, we're used to it, Mike. We're used to it. But like when it happens, we all kind of just say, okay, we just drop like whatever's going on and we make it happen. And I think that is really special. And most people definitely don't have that. And I think that is something I hope that anyone that takes the time to listen to our shenanigans maybe takes away from this. I want a couple more things. And I know you've got some automotive issues. Yeah. So I started a movie club back in September where I rented out our local theater once a month. It's not that expensive, and I've been showing movies like free to the public. And it kind of was one of those projects where I had that itch of wanting to do something. And I did it, yes, out of the kindness of my heart, blah, blah, blah. People say I'm nice. I don't know if I believe that. But part of it was just selfish reasons of saying, I have these movies I've never seen on a big theater, and I want to fucking see it on the big screen, and I can do it. Still, I'm going to, because I'm stubborn. And so I know that you are a lover of kung fu movies and Bruce Lee movies. You're a Jean-Claude Van Damme guy. You're a Die Hard guy. You're a Jackie Chan guy. But tell me, if you were to see any movie that you could imagine on the big screen that you've never seen before, what is Mike Tomacelli's favorite movie? I'm gonna guess it's not The Notebook, but
No, I don't. So, would this be my favorite movie, or just one that I haven't seen on the big screen that I think would be legendary to see on big screen?
there's whatever you want. Whatever you want. There's no wrong
I think
answers.
one that would be awesome to see in theater would be the original Jackie Chan's Drunken Boxing. Kind of a summary of our lives.
That is so appropriate. I like that. That's a great answer. So I have a list going because part of the thing is when people go, I have like a scorecard where they rate the movie and then they can write down recommendations. And I literally have like 200 plus recommendations. So I'm gonna have, yeah, it's pretty cool. And sometimes I take them. Most of the time I don't, but if I see a title that repeats often, I will. And you know what? I did show one based on what people recommended. It was Stand By Me. And I was like, everyone loves Stand By Me. Have you seen that?
I don't think so. What's it about?
It's about 4 kids who go on like a day trip because this other kid around their age got hit by a train and they're trying to find a dead body. It's based off a Stephen King like short story.
Oh, that's why I wouldn't have seen it. I don't do Stephen King.
Okay.
Nightmares as a kid. I watched it with my dad. I was just done with him.
You watched it?
Yeah, as a little kid, the original. Scared the shit out of me. I had nightmares for months. No more Stephen King movies for me after that.
Okay. All right.
And it was bad enough because you remember where I lived, that cabin?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Well, guess what? The woods are all dark and foggy and creepy as shit, just like in every Stephen King movie because they're all shot in Maine. I didn't need to put any of that extra creepy shit in my head because I was always going in those woods.
Well, what was that? What was the last movie you saw in theaters?
I'll tell you which. I can't remember the last one I saw because it's been a long time. But there is one I definitely want to see. Can you guess what it is?
Oh, is it the Odyssey?
Nope. He-Man.
Nope. Okay.
He-Man.
Oh, He-Man.
Yeah.
Dude. All right, yo, that's so Mike. Yeah. Yep, that's so Mike. Freaking He-Man.
Yeah.
I've actually heard a little bit about it, so I know it's kind of flopping at the box office only because it costs so much money to make that they're not able to recoup it. But I've heard that the people who have gone to see it have really liked it, and it's like destined to be like a cult classic. So I would.
I'll tell you what.
I
watched the original. The original is so terrible. It's great. It's so terrible.
Yes. Oh,
and,
yeah.
I mean, it's horrible. So this has to be better, no matter what. It's gonna be.
Yeah. And that's the thing too. Like I'm doing a movie thing. I'm a lover of bad movies. Like I love bad movies. Yeah.
I care not of other people's opinions. If I like it, I like it.
Yep. 100%. What about music, Mike? I never known you. I know you like music. I have memories of you grilling on my deck and kind of jamming out to the Beach Boys. I know you're kind of a Beach Boys fan, or you were back in 2004. But what are you into? What are you listening to?
Probably more than anything, classical. I got really tired of listening to everybody's problems in their songs. And everybody
You've always liked classical though. That's why it's something that's true.
It's soothing, man, and it's great music to train to. Calms everybody down. You play heavy metal, everybody goes crazy.
See, I wonder what, I feel like a psychologist would have a field day with you. Because it's like, here you have this guy.
Tanner.
What's that?
I'd have a field day with them.
Well, that's probably a better way to frame it. But it's like, here's this guy he's got a bit of a violent streak, but he also likes classical.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the one that really does it for me.
Yeah.
I mean, during
Any,
the pandemic, or whatever the fuck you want to call it,
sure.
I picked up a massive vinyl record collection of just all classical, and that became my hobby. So I've got a ton of classical on vinyl. I go shooting. I take a record player with me. I go old school.
Isn't vinyl awesome, man? I love vinyl. We have a
Oh, it's
record player.
it hits so much different. It's analog sound versus digital.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Um, all right, last question, and then I'll catch up with you hopefully at Moxie Fest. So I'm ending every interview kind of in a similar way, where all right, so my grandmother, Grammy Grover, whom you know, fabulous personality, she died in 2008. She had lung cancer, passed away. And now on her deathbed, I had a conversation with her, and she was like, "You know, Tanner, my one regret in life is that I didn't allow myself to have an ice cream sundae every time I wanted one." And I just thought that was like so profound. Where I'm thinking like, here's this sick old woman, and all she wants is a goddamn ice cream sundae. And so, the ice cream sundae can represent whatever you want. It could be an actual ice cream sundae. It could be, you want to jump out of an airplane. But I think the genesis of it, or the real intent behind it, it's like what fills you up. So I kind of want to pose that question to you, where it's like what fills you up, or if you can't really answer that, maybe what's on your bucket list. You are a person of like aspirations and wanting to continue to, discover new things and entertain yourself however you see fit. But what do you want to do, man? What's left for the big fat whopper?
It kind of all boils back down to like acquiring those skills, and big thing is just acquiring wisdom, not just useless knowledge. And wherever that takes me, it takes me. You know me, I go on lots of adventures, and I make the time to go on my, deserted island in the Pacific hikes and camping trips and stuff like that. And I would just encourage everybody, take the time off of work, whatever it takes, make the time to go seek some adventure in your life and keep things interesting, because no one dies saying, I wish I worked more. They all die saying, I wish I spent more time with family, friends, or doing things that they really loved and enjoyed. And I consider myself lucky because I fell into, my jiu-jitsu passion and the path of fighting really early in life. Most people don't do that. And I also got lucky because I just followed it and I found the right people. But if you're not doing something you love already, make the time to just go seek some adventure and, keep that spark alive, because it's easy to sit in front of a TV and get sucked into a work schedule or retirement. You know what I'm talking about. You're always doing something.
I got to pass that along to Merritt, man. Take a vacation, guy. We're getting there though.
Yeah, eventually you guys will make it out here.
Yeah. All right, brother. Well, this has been awesome. I love catching up with you. And any other final words of wisdom from the professor?
No, I think you got it all from me.
All right, cool. But I want to thank everyone who's taking the time to hang out. I hope you found this conversation informative, insightful, entertaining. Maybe you learned something. Maybe you just throw it on in the background and it's, background noise. That's cool too. Either way, I want to do most of all is just thank Michael Anthony Tomacelli, my best friend to the very end. Thank you for being a friend.
Anytime, brother. Thank you for inspiring me.
I try.